Welcome back to Nourished Inside Out, the space where growth gets real and self love leads the way. I'm your host, Aneta Walklaw, and before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind you of something powerful. You are worthy, you are enough, and you don't need to wait for permission to love yourself fully. That's exactly why I wrote my book, Blooming with Self Love, to give you the tools, affirmations, and daily mindset shifts to help you stand in your power and own your story. This book isn't just words on a page, it's a movement. So if you're ready to stop shrinking and start showing up for yourself, grab your copy today with the link in the show notes below, and let's walk this self love journey together.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nourished Inside Out. Today I'm here with Lynda Hébert, and she is a functional nurse and a health and wellness coach and speaker. Thank you so much for joining us today, Linda.
Oh, thank you for having me, Aneta. I love being able to connect with other women and talk about what really strengthens and empower us to live truly healthy from the inside out.
Absolutely. So I love that you and I can both connect on this topic of really nurturing ourselves from the inside out because I'm a firm believer that as much as you take care of the outside, that the inside will always reflect on the outside of how you're taking care of yourself. And I feel like it's a topic that's really neglected these days of our how we nurture ourselves from the inside out. So I'm really thrilled to be here with you today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what got you into this career for yourself? Because you said you started off you went to nursing school and you became a functional nurse. So can you talk us through that journey and what inspired you to take that route?
Well, there's so many things that inspire us along our way, just like you have
Hmm.
your story. And my story actually started when I was a young girl. Um, and I would say probably around my teenage years is when I can share you something impactful that began this story and why I chose this path, or I could say why it was even chosen for me. Um, so I had two siblings, an older sister that I followed around everywhere. She was my best friend. And I had a little brother that I absolutely adored. So I was right in the middle. Diane and Ricky. And in my teenage years, when I was about 13, I started noticing my older sister, who was about 2.5 years older than I was. She started at 3 years, maybe. She started acting differently. Her personality started changing, and it got to the point where she was so unpredictable. I just was really wondering what is going on with my sister. And my parents got involved. Her personality changed. She had very, very big mood swings. And it got to the point where not only was I afraid of losing her, I was afraid of her.
Mm.
And she was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia. And it was a long process of watching her life just completely unravel. And then that happened by the time she was 18. And then not long after that, or during that same time, my brother, who was perfectly healthy and well, developed a drug addiction. And it just wreaked havoc on his mind, his body, his soul. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And so I kicked into gear doing everything I could to try to help them regain a sense of health and well-being. And that led me into Ohio State. I went to get a nursing degree. I learned so much there. And I really began to understand the power of our own body, just how magnificent our body is. So after I graduated from Ohio State, my sister was basically she was in a chronic she was in a psychiatric institution her whole life from that point on. But I never gave up on her. Just poured into her life and my brother's life. He developed leukemia, and I gave him my bone marrow. Even though I was 5 out of a 6 match, it didn't save him. He died. And so I was really on a journey to want to understand what is true health. What can we really do to be healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually? And so I didn't have a lot of answers, even after when I started working in hospitals and all kinds of settings in the medical world. I saw that we just really focused in on the symptoms of a problem that someone was having instead of the root level of what do they really need? What's going on? What are their lifestyle habits? Um, so I would say that it took me years. It was just a long process of learning that I was not truly healthy from the inside out. And that's when I began. I knew that I was trying to get to that point, but at one point, there was a point in my life where I understood that I needed to get to truth in every part of my being, cellular level. I needed to understand how to make my body healthy from the inside out, how to really be honest with who I am and know who I am. And that was the beginning of what I believe is true health that brings freedom and vitality. And so I learned, and then we went through COVID, and that's when I just started really pouring everything I knew into, I put it on a paper, because I realized we as a society, as a country, as people, we don't understand how to empower ourselves to take care of our own body, because there's so much about our body that is wise and can heal us, but we're not providing and working with our body, mind, body, and spirit. You know, we're whole health as a person. It's not just your physical body. It's we're integrated. You can't separate. There's not one part of us that's less important than the other. Each part of us is equally important. So hopefully I answered your question on how this journey started and why my passion is so deep for women to begin this journey, because it's simple. You just have to understand it and get honest with yourself and be consistent.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that. I know it can be a vulnerable topic, but I always say, like, if you're going through something or if someone you know is going through something, that person is not the only one going through it. So other people need to hear that there is light at the end of the tunnel and there is hope and that you can make a change for the better, but it really does start within yourself. So
It
something I
does.
want to, yeah, it really does. Like, for example, when I was growing up, I remember I was so emotionally unstable. Like, I mean, I reacted to everything. I didn't know how to control my emotions. And because of that, I was looking for fulfillment in people, places, and things all the time. And I didn't realize that the fulfillment was really within myself. It's not in people, it's not in drugs, it's not in food, it's not in any of that. And I had to really understand that. So, what are some mindset shifts that you had to understand and some mindset shifts that you live by every single day in order to nurture yourself from the inside out?
I love what you just said, Aneta. That is the very most important mindset, is realizing we we have to get honest with ourselves.
Mm,
Where am I looking for my worth and my value? And
mhm,
that sounds like, well, of course I'm not looking for it other places, but we've got to get to those deeper parts of ourselves where we can look back and we can see ourselves and say, oh, I'm fine. And we have to notice, we really have to get in touch with our body, because
mhm,
if we're not aware of the signals our body is telling us. And so the way to go about doing that is pausing, of course, and taking
mhm,
time to deeply reflect on what you're feeling. And sometimes people don't know how to do that. And so it begins, you have to connect with your body and you have to get honest with yourself in a very compassionate, deeply compassionate level. Most women carry shame, and we all do, and from our
mm,
past. And it's too hard for us to get really honest with how we're feeling. And that is the place we experience freedom. When we get
mm,
honest about where our shame might be tied up in and where our identity is tied up in, that is the most false identity in the world, like pleasing people, helping people, um, our outside appearance. All of that is just so shallow and gives us no foundation to build on. And so we have to get honest and be very patient with ourselves as we examine ourselves and notice. We have to look at our habits, we have to look at our lifestyle, notice what we're feeling. And then I go through a process where I work with my clients, and I have, it's the first, second chapter of my book, is walk you through a process of self-examination. Very
mhm.
gentle, compassionate. Being compassionate on yourself is your non-negotiable rule. Always speak compassionately to yourself. Now, there's times when you're going to say, you're going to speak truth to yourself, but with compassion.
Hmm.
So you have to be compassionate, but get very honest with yourself about your habits. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? What is underneath that why? And what is the truth that I want to replace with that habit? What more truthful habit can I develop instead of that habit I have of saying yes when I want to say no, or eating when I'm not really hungry, or over exercising, or under exercising, and just not really using my morning time or my evening time well. All these kinds of things, and sometimes we don't have an answer for it, but when we begin to develop the self-worth and the identity, that gives us a strong foundation when we know who we are. And I find a lot of my value in who God says I am. So I put a lot of worth and truth that I am designed and chosen by God as his daughter. And I have every reason to know that I'm valued. I was made in his image, and that my worth and my value alone and just who I am is enough. And see, from there, we get to become truly who we are instead of holding back because we think we don't believe in ourselves enough to become truly who we are, or we think it's selfish.
No, you just shared so much valuable information. I kind of want to break it down one by one. And I'll make it simple. You said three things: compassion, shame, and knowing who you are in God, because those are the three components that I love, because it's so easy for us to feel shame, like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not good enough, or I'm eating too much, I'm doing too much scrolling, whatever. But when we learn to have compassion for ourselves, then we don't criticize ourselves that much so hard, and we let go of that shame. But for me, I couldn't let go of that shame until I realized that God loves me for who I am, and that he's never going to judge me, and there's no shame. So as long as I have that compassion for myself, that I'm doing the best I can with everything that I know right now, then that's what matters, because then I'm fulfilling God's purpose. So I love that you talked about those three. Why do you feel like when why do you feel like us women walk around with so much shame, especially at a young age?
Well, of course, our society, I mean, I'm not going to blame it on our society, because I think when we blame it on other things instead of taking our own responsibility and owning how we think, because we choose how we think. But I do think our society, how we're raised, our home, has a lot to do with what shapes our thinking when we're young. It just does.
Yeah.
And so if we're either praised for the wrong things, for our performance or our outward appearance, or we're criticized for things that the same thing, then we're gonna be getting we're gonna get messages that are aren't true, and so we're gonna be building
Hmm.
our lives on these untrue messages. And I think the power of shame is what I've realized, Aneta, and I think it's important for women, for all of us to understand that it's okay to feel bad. Like, it's okay to feel like, oh, this really stinks right now. I'm feeling bad about myself. Let yourself feel that way and then get to the truth. Like, because your feelings sometimes aren't going to change, even though you're going to act in truth. And so I think what happens is we get triggered, we feel the negative feeling, and we want out of it so quickly because we're afraid of it. And it's
Hmm.
just an emotion. It's just a feeling. It will pass. That's all it is a feeling. But we do need to acknowledge, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling bad about myself right now because I didn't get this done and that done. Well, we know that's not a way to base our worth or identity, but we can acknowledge it, let it move on, and then choose the next truthful action and continue to tell ourselves the truth. My worth does not depend on what I do or what I don't get done or anything like that. And because of that, I'm free to keep moving forward and being true to myself, because that's the most important thing. If we understand that when we're true to ourselves and who God designed us to be, we'll stop thinking it's about our accomplishments or our outside appearance. Those are all just going to change all the time. But when we know that we're developing everything God put inside of us, he's crazy about us. He's dancing and singing over us. The Bible tells us that he loves to see us do well, be happy, succeed. And when that's our motivation to just be who he created us to be at 100%, then we don't find the things what gives us the identity. And we don't get sick because we're not suppressing those emotions. When we suppress our emotions, our cells begin, we're producing cortisol. And that's the thing about, as a nurse, I understand what happens to women's bodies when they aren't true to themselves, when they aren't recognizing their identity. Autoimmune disease, insomnia, migraine headaches, chronic fatigue. I see it over and over with women. And it comes from dismissing your own body signals, silencing your own voice, and not understanding your true identity.
That's so true. Thank you for bringing that up and mentioning that, because I think there's a big difference on saying I feel versus I am, because they
Yes.
say have I am affirmation statements like that are positive, like I am beautiful, I am
Yes.
worthy.
Yes.
But if you say I am depressed, you may be feeling depressed in
That's
that
what you're
moment,
feeling.
but that
Yes.
doesn't define who you are.
Yes.
So I love that
Yes.
you mentioned that, because it's like it's okay. Like I think a lot of times, like especially like as when we're younger kids and we're growing up, we're always taught to just dismiss our feelings, and
Yes.
then the more we dismiss them, the more we push them down. And
Oh,
exactly what you said, like if you
yes.
don't acknowledge your feelings in that moment, then they will eventually come up in other things like
Yes.
diseases or autoimmune or whatever it is. So I'm really
Anxiety.
thankful.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I love that you said that. So what are some things that have helped you release emotions and be open and honest about them? Because it can't, yes, it makes sense, but it can also be easier said than done. So, what are some things that have helped you start opening up to your emotions and allowing you to be honest with yourself?
Well, I love that question. And because I did so much research on how to get to the point where we're in true health, that's the beginning part, is getting really honest with yourself. And what I did was, and I have them all listed in my book. I have the 8 habits of what we need to do to get truly whole and healthy from the inside out. And the first one is really you do some reflection, self reflection. And there is so much growth in self reflection. So the whole purpose is not to just look inward and look inward, it's to look inward so we understand what's going on, especially that's not true. And again, with lots of deep compassion. So I have a list of questions that I'll ask myself. You have to ask yourself questions because oftentimes we don't even know where to begin. And so I have a list of questions that women to go through. And if they don't even know what they're feeling, they have to start with, and I list all of this out, is listening to your body's signals. I call my first chapter, Sense Your Body's Signals and Search Your Soul. Because if you can notice what's going on in your gut, and your gut will tell you, it will tell you signals if it's bloated, if it's cramping, if there's tightness, if there's, your gut is a huge place that can indicate to you. It's telling you something. It's telling us important information. You might need to be doing some deep breathing. You might need to be doing some resting. Maybe you're eating some foods that are just on the go and they're not really nutritious foods, healthy things that will really nourish you. So you listen to your gut symptoms, and then you listen to your breathing patterns. Is your breathing pattern slow, or is it fast? Do you feel hurried? Do you feel like your heart's racing? You listen to, and I go through all of this, each system of the body. Your central nervous system speaks to you so much. I teach women how to know when you're in fight or flight. And when you know these things, then you're able to identify what triggered it, what the emotion is. Oftentimes it's an emotion, but it's sometimes something we ate or we've pushed ourselves too hard. And so we have to slow down and pay attention to what our body's telling us and then get to the root of that. What did I do? And sometimes I'm not saying it's our fault because we develop habits in life, and sometimes we're born with certain things that we have to work out. But what did I do that created that migraine headache or that, and not in a way, not in a judgmental way, ever, a compassionate way. What's happening? What am I doing? Maybe I'm around someone or listening to something that really causes anxiety in me and tension. And I need to put up better boundaries. But our body is so wise. It will always tell us if you learn how. A lot of women live disconnected from their own body. And that's a lot about what I write about initially in my book is we're living as women instead of life-giving health that God designed us to. We're nurturers and we're intuitive. So our bodies have so much genuine wisdom to give us if we learn to slow down and listen. And that's what I teach women how to do so they can really get to the deeper levels within themselves about what's really going on.
I think that's a really great piece of advice is slow down and listen.
Yeah.
We're so on the go every single day of I need to do this, I need to do that. Whether you're a parent, you're a student, you work a full-time job, you have a side business, you're always on the go. You have to make dinner, whatever it is. And we I don't feel like us as humans take enough time to slow down and be there in the moment. Because something that I had to learn, like I went from being in a relationship when I was 20 years old to when I was 21, I ended up getting married, and then I was always on the go, everything was rushed. Work was rushed, the relationship was rushed, my personal life was rushed, everything. And then eventually I came to a point where I just burnt out, and then I left that relationship when I was 23, so I got divorced, and then I left that career and I restarted. And when I was restarting, I needed to just stop and pause and understand what I want, because you don't have to get to rock bottom or face extreme burnout to realize that you need to slow down. I think so many times, like, we'll be on the go, on the go, on the go until we burn out. And then we're like, well, shit, what do we do now? But you don't have to get to rock bottom, or you don't have to burn out to realize you need to slow down. So, what are some tips and some things that you implement into your daily life that help you take those pauses throughout the day?
Well, I think I'll tell you that, answer that question, but I do want to add that we all need support. And so,
Hmm.
as much as the work that we're doing, which your greatest support is you. So,
Yeah.
your greatest person in your life is really you. But we need more than ourselves. We need, a community of people. We need a few people that we really love them well and they love us well. We do need community. It's huge. And we live in a world now that's so isolated and so people are solid, so just there's too much aloneness. So we need to recognize that we need quality people. So I would say what I do when I'm feeling overwhelmed sounds like I think a lot of women live um, tired, distracted, and overwhelmed, and you have to set up intentional habits. So one of the things I will do, just this will happen all throughout my day, is I'll deep breathe.
Mhm.
It is the most quietest, hard thing for people to start doing. Once you've gotten to the habit, you'll never stop. But connecting with your breath does wonders. If you learn how to take a few slow, deep breaths in through your nose and then exhale through your mouth. You've got to really be present in that and enjoy it. So Deep breathing, a habit of intentional deep breathing. And we can just call it slow breathing, because sometimes people think deep breathing is, it's not that. It's just a slow, full inhale and then a longer, even fuller exhale. We forget the importance of our exhale. So, again, our body is so wise. Our lungs know what to do if we just give them the air. They're breathing for us, but sometimes, when we can just intentionally take deep breaths the way we were designed to, because when we're in a hurry and we get in fight or flight, our breath becomes shallow. So we're not getting oxygen delivered. Our amygdala, the emotional part of our brains, getting triggered too much. Our prefrontal cortex, where we reason and think logically, is getting under stimulated. So our body is all working together. So connecting and being aware of your breath is hugely important. Another thing is your musculoskeletal system. Is we don't honor our muscles and our tendons and our ligaments and our nerves as we should. We should be in touch with our body. How is it feeling? And the way we can do that is just by using our muscles, moving our body, and then deep stretching. Deep stretching is another thing to me that is like deep breathing. When you deep stretch, some people call it yoga, some people call it deep stretching. You are releasing so much tension in your body. So we carry a lot of our tension in our matrix tissue. It's a tissue that surrounds all of our whole body, and also in our tendons and our joints. And so deep stretching, and again, for hurried people, deep stretching seems like a waste of time, because you're not building muscle, you're not running, getting your cardio. But just like deep breathing, and anyone can Google and learn how to do deep stretching. I have it all in my book laid out for you exactly what to do. So those are just some examples. Setting up a morning routine. Simple, not overdoing it, just putting one new thing in. Getting out in nature. Nature heals us. We were made, God designed us from the earth. And when we are in nature, when we're touching it, breathing in the air, around water, it just does so much. It helps us slow down. It resets our central nervous system. So I lay out my book, How to Do This, with 8 habits: sensing your body's signals, training your thoughts. It's the acrostic of strength. And I don't need to get into each one, but it's a simple, practical way to rest and restore, how to exercise and move your body, how to nutrify your body, how to set some goals with lots of grace, and then how to, make sure you're having time in community. So certain habits, and they're all so science backed, but they've been proven and researched, that if we incorporate these into our lives, we're going to live an intentionally whole, healthy lifestyle. And we're going to be nourishing ourselves from the inside out.
That's incredible. Can you actually talk to us a little bit about your book? I'd love to know more about what's in it, about how we can nourish ourselves from the inside out more, and what people can expect when they read it.
Thank you, Aneta. I would love to talk about it. It's called Strong, Sane, and Sassy.
I love it.
And the reason why I wanted a catchy title, but each part of us is so important. And we want to be strong. We want to have a strong, resilient body, but we also want to have a strong, resilient mind. And so the same part is knowing that we have to train ourselves to think correctly. We have to make sure that we're not overstimulating our brain, going from this to this to this, answering the phone. We can develop a habit of just being scattered in our thinking, because we're not training our brain to stay alert and focused and clear. And we're not watching the inputs that are coming into our mind. So it's about physically being strong, having a crystal clear thinking, being sane. And then sassy is really being true to our own voice and values. And I think this is the hardest one for women. We'll push ourselves and we'll do all kinds of things, but to really be in touch with, what do I need? What do I want? And that's the sassy part, is being truthful. to who we are and what we know, getting clear on what we need. And because when if we're not really treating ourselves well, we're not going to have the ability to treat other people well. So a lot of people think that self-care is selfishness. And I laugh because it's not true. Selfishness is just selfishness. This is not selfishness. This is taking care of the temple of the body that we've been given, so that we can live fully and serve, and nurture. As women, we are nurturers, our friends, our family, our community, and our world. But we can't do that if we're living from an empty tank. We have to keep our own tank full, and that's just so important for women. And I think, like Aneta, our conversations now, we're sisters. We need to encourage each other because we get each other. Most of the time, men don't get this aspect of women because they're not like that. But we get each other. And so we need help each other. We need to encourage each other, when we're doing, to go for whatever it is we want to go for. But it's okay to take time for you. It's okay to say no. It's okay to really take a season where you just focus on what you need and what you want more than anything else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Linda. Before we go ahead and wrap things up, I have one final question for you. I know we've been talking about this, but what does it mean for you to truly be nourished inside out?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think that is a question every woman should just marinate in, because it may not come right away. And also listen to what your gut tells you. For me, it's going to be taking time to be in nature with no agenda, smelling the fresh air, being outside, um, just enjoying the moments that I have and who I'm with, and with the presence of God around me. Um, I think nourishment is when you're doing something without an agenda and you're just fully present, enjoying life in the moment.
I think that's so beautiful because that is literally what I always say all the time. Like, I feel like we just read each other's minds, and I think it's kind of cool. But it really is just being in that present moment. It's understanding, like, go outside and smell the fresh air, go outside and feel the sun on your skin for 5 minutes. And especially, like, I'm from the Midwest. You went to school in Ohio. When we have sunshine, we take advantage of
Yeah.
that. So it's just really enjoying those moments. And I feel like that just adds so much more life to your days. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, sure.
And can you please tell us, where can people find you? Where can they stay in touch with you and purchase your book if they'd like to?
Well, the best way is on my website, and I will spell it out for you. My name is Lynda Hébert, but it's nothing like it sounds. So here I go: LYNDAHEB, as in boy, ERT.com. So you can find everything on my website. How to get a hold of me if you'd like to have a discovery call where we can connect about these kinds of things, and it's all complimentary. I'd love to talk to you and help you set up a path for becoming the best version of yourself. Also, my book is on there. How to order my book? It's on all the places you can order it, including Amazon. So that'd be the best place, my website.
Beautiful. I'll have everything linked down in the show notes below so people can stay in touch. Thank you for joining us today, Linda.
Oh, thank you for having me. I loved it.